Stephen Thompson versus Tyron Woodley. What would happen if these two guys fight? Is this fight going to happen? Should it happen? What do I think is going to happen? What do I think should happen? First of all, Tyron Woodley's calling out. GS said he wants to fight GSP, he wants to fight Nick Diaz, and he blatantly says it's because he wants to make more money, he wants a big money fight. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, if you've literally like cleaned out your division, or at least been champion for a while. But I don't think he's doing it because he's dodging Stephen Thompson. I don't think he's afraid to fight Stephen Thompson. I mean, he just fought Robbie Lawler and knocked Robbie Lawler out, and he did it very easily. I believe him when he says he just wants to make more money. I don't think those fights should happen because Nick Diaz is not fought in quite a while, and George St. Pierre it's been even longer. These guys, to me, are not the best fighters in the world. I mean, you don't know them. You don't know what these guys have been up to. You know, nobody that hasn't been fighting that you have should even be ranked. You should even say. I can't even rank him. I can't even say where George St. Pierre is. I mean, what's he been doing? Nobody knows what he's been doing. I believe George St. Pierre retired because Jonny Hendricks absolutely destroyed him. And his face, the way his face looked, I mean, he was so beat that he just didn't want to take any more beatings like that. And not only did he not want to fight Jonny Hendricks again, he didn't want any more of that. Then Robbie Lawler, he saw what Robbie Lawler was doing to people, and you didn't see GSP calling out Robbie Lawler. He didn't want anything to do with that, you know. And in the meantime, a lot of time has passed. You know, he lost to a guy, Jonny Hendricks. I know he didn't technically lose, but he lost. Everybody knows he lost. He got destroyed by a guy who is pretty much getting destroyed. Stephen Thompson destroyed him. So, and now for some reason, you know, GSP, either he needs money, or you know, he just hasn't got a paycheck in a while, and or he sees these guys making this money, and so he wants to come in and get a big paycheck, or he sees something in Tyron Woodley, he for whatever reason feels like he could beat Tyron Woodley. It could be just because he sees the money these guys are making. These guys are making more money now, and he probably just wants to come in and get a big payday. He has a good chance at winning the fight, but even if he loses the fight, he was retired already. So if he came back and lost a fight, it's not a real big deal. He'd get a nice paycheck. I don't think that fight should happen. I think if he wants to come back, then he can come back. I think the fight that should be happening is Tyron Woodley versus Stephen Thompson. That's the fight that should happen because everybody that was relevant, everybody that was, GSP, he lost to Jonny Hendricks. Jonny Hendricks got destroyed by these guys. So, you lost. I'm going to say that again. GSP lost to Jonny Hendricks. Stephen Thompson destroyed Jonny Hendricks. So how do you think you're going to come in and fight? It's more important that the GSP fights somebody who is rusty and has not been fighting when you have somebody else who's quite possibly in their prime. I mean, it doesn't make any sense that we would want to watch that fight. I have no interest in watching that fight. I didn't have any interest in watching GSP fight even when he was fighting. Let alone a retired older GSP. And as far as Nick Diaz goes, pretty much everything goes for Nick Diaz. Obviously, I like Nick Diaz. We did see him against Anderson. He looked good against Anderson Silva. I'm not going to lie. But he didn't look real hungry. He didn't look real eagerly hungry to win that fight, and that's why he didn't win. It's just I think he was there just to get a paycheck. I do think, though, the success of Nate Diaz has kind of lit a fire under Nick Diaz. Not to mention, Nick hasn't had a paycheck in a while. But I do believe, seeing his little brother, make all this money and doing all these interviews, paid interviews, I think that's kind of lit a spark under Nick. You know what I mean? Because Nate's like the little guy who followed in Nick's footsteps. Nick showed Nate everything. I mean, Nate wouldn't be Nate Diaz as we know him if it wasn't for Nick. It's as simple as that. And Nate might actually be better than Nick. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I don't want to get in the hole. That's a silly thing. They're both great. But I do believe that, I don't think Nick was real hungry. He wasn't really eager to get after it. When he fought Anderson, I think if he could go back, maybe would have been a little bit more eager. But I think he's a little fired up now. He's a little pissed off. They told him, Nick was kind of like, screw you, I don't need to fight. Then when they told him they suspended him for 5 years and said you can't fight, he was like, what do you mean I can't fight? I want to fight. Kind of like one of those things. And now he's watching, Nate. And I think he's just like, man, you know what? I want to get in there and do this too. And and I don't know if he's so much competing with Nate. I don't think they're like that, but he's like, man, this is what my little brother can do. I can do it too. And I want to get in there and get back to winning and being a big star and making money. Now they used to force. You see Nate Diaz doing interviews, and this is all relevant to Tyron, Woodley, Stephen Thompson, because these are the people that are in the mix when we're talking about this fight happening. You see Nate Diaz doing these interviews, he's joking around. They're paying him. He's on Conan O'Brien, he's smiling and stuff. He's getting paid. They're paying him to be there. They used to go up to Nick and he didn't want to talk to him, but they weren't paying him anything. You're not paying Nick Diaz to get interviewed by Ariel Helwani. Who I know a lot of people like Ariel Helwani, but I never really cared for him. I just thought he was just kind of annoying, like an instigator. He was just trying to piss people off all the time. I do think that's what he does. People look at it as like, I don't know, people like him. When they threw him out of the UFC, everybody was backing him, but I don't know. I don't really care one way or the other. But back then, I never cared for him. He'd be asking Nick stupid questions, but he wasn't getting paid. He'd be smiling if you offer him a bunch of money. You know what I mean? So that's just the way that works. But I don't think Nick should fight Tyron Woodley. I'd rather see Nick come back and fight. I think Nick Diaz, Jonny Hendricks. You get two big names. Why not put those two together? Why not have GSP? I saw Matt Brown sign an 8-fight contract. And then he went and lost against Jake Ellenberger. So, why not have GSP versus Matt Brown? Something like that. Let these guys. Someone made a comment, I won't say his name, I know it is, and I see him, he comments in my videos from time to time. And what he said was that these are the big money fights, that these guys don't need to fight these guys. Well, if the UFC doesn't make the fights, then they need to fight them, and I believe they need to fight them. I meant it more when I say that they need to fight these lower level guys, because the comment was, why would Nick Diaz fight somebody lower level, or why would GSP come in here? Because then the UFC won't make the fights. The UFC should not make those fights with people who have not fought in years, because you don't know what condition they're in. I mean, have they been training, or have they been sitting around smoking weed every day, not training, drinking? Nick was drinking, getting DUIs. He appears to be in shape. I mean, he was in shape when he fought Anderson Silva. But what I'm saying is, if somebody is not currently fighting, then they can't currently be ranked. I mean, things have changed. Things change in MMA in a year like that. I mean, people who were dominant. Look at Ronda Rousey. I mean, Ronda Rousey currently will get worked probably by 3, 4 girls. You know what I'm saying? So things change very quickly. And you have somebody like Stephen Thompson beating all these guys that beat these other guys. You see what I'm getting at? So I honestly don't think Nick Diaz, and I don't want to be, another reason I said that they need to come in here is I don't want to be cheated as a fan. I want to see the best fighters in the world. I don't want to see these old men. You're watching, especially with the drug testing, a bunch of middle-aged stinkers. They're old middle-aged men, has-beens. I don't want to watch old middle-aged has-beens. I don't want to watch that. This is not Bellator. These guys have not currently been fighting. I don't think they're very good. Like if GSP comes in, you know, and beats Tyron Woodley, you know, it's always the best. He just won one fight. It's like Nate, you know, I think it should be more structured, and I don't want to see these guys waltz in and bypass guys who beat guys that already destroyed him when he was in better shape and younger. You know, when did Jonny Hendricks fight GSP? He destroyed him. In fact, if Jonny Hendricks knew he wasn't going to win that fight, he could have at any point probably just knocked GSP out. He probably thought he was winning, and he was just trying to be smart, and it was probably no doubt in his mind he won the fight. I mean, he beat the heck out of GSP. He said he lost, you know. It's like, you know. So now GSP, he lost then, and now he's even older now, and you have younger guys like, you know, Stephen Thompson come in and have destroyed Jonny Hendricks. I know I've said that like 3 or 4 times already in this video. But that doesn't make any sense, and they're currently fighting. You know, these guys, that just makes no sense to me. I don't care to see that. Now you've seen Anderson, you know, come off an injury and come in, and you know he fought Nick Diaz and he won the fight, and it showed that he's currently can fight. He was good enough to beat Nick Diaz, and he came in there with Michael Bisping, and even though he lost the fight, it showed Michael Bisping knocks out Luke Rockhold, but right before that, Anderson Silva fights Bisping, so it shows me that Anderson Silva is still relevant because he pretty much knocked out Michael Bisping. And if it wasn't just a weird circumstance, he didn't get him on, a bell rang, and Herb Dean said, you don't tell me when to stop the fight, I stop the fight. If it wasn't a situation like that, if, you know, weird circumstances like that, Anderson Silva would have beat the champion, or the soon-to-be champion. It shows me he's good enough to beat the champion. It shows me that Anderson Silva can beat the champion, and it also shows where Nick Diaz is. It's been a little while, but it shows me that Nick Diaz is maybe more current than maybe some people would think. But it doesn't. Nothing shows me that GSP is current because he got destroyed. He got whooped by Jonny Hendricks. Then he retired. So it's been quite a while, and he basically lost that last fight. So he's coming off a loss in my mind. GSP, if he was a stand-up guy, he would have taken that belt after he lost to Jonny Hendricks, and he would have walked over and given it to Jonny Hendricks. Like John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever. I understand that's a silly movie, but when they lost that dance competition to the other couple that was better, he took that trophy or whatever it was and went and gave it to other people because they were the ones that won. Okay, it wasn't some biased, stupid judging. And I would have actually gained a lot of respect for GSP had he done something like that. But he didn't. He stood there acting like he's the champ. It's like, you're not the champ. You stink. You stink. And he coming off a loss, absolutely under no circumstances should Tyron Woodley fight George St. Pierre. Should George St. Pierre come in there in front of Stephen Thompson? Stephen Thompson's been destroying everybody. Tyron Woodley's been destroying everybody. These other guys, in my eyes, are not on the same level as these two fighters. That's why this fight should happen. As far as who would win, I don't know who would win. That's why I want to watch the fight. That's why I want to see the fight. And I want to see the best guys fight. I don't want to see these clown fights. I'm just done with it. I don't want to watch it. I'll see you guys later.